ESPN recently released a list ranking the top 74 NBA players of all time. While it's impossible to talk about all 74, we've decided to take a look at the top 10, and let us just warn you, it's a little controversial. Keep watching this video as we go through all the top 10 entries. First up at number 10, Shaquille O'Neal. Now, it isn't a surprise that Shaq's made it to the top 10, but it is kind of shocking that he's been ranked so low. In fact, you'll see this pattern reoccur throughout the video. Anyways, Shaquille O'Neal is a man that needs absolutely no introduction. The most dominant ever. Shaq's career seems to have only one adjective: dominant. Shaq is obviously one of the biggest big men to ever step foot on a basketball court, but even standing at 7 foot 1 inch and weighing 365 pounds, Shaq could still move around like a lightweight. He was quick, explosive, and agile, something a lot of big men can't do. And we've all seen the footage of him completely cooking MJ in a one-on-one before the All-Star game. How many people can make that claim? The beauty of Shaq's supremacy is that you could know after 2 dribbles that he wasn't going to hit you with a drop step in the post, yet even if you knew it was coming, there wasn't anything you could do to be able to block it. When Shaq shot, it was either going to be a foul or a bucket. No other way to go about it. He was truly one of a kind, and easily one of the most entertaining players in NBA history, both on and off the court. Shaq can never be replaced. Coming up next at number 9, Kobe Bryant. Remember how we said a few of these rankings might come as a shock? Yeah, this is one of them. Many people would be ready to swear their lives on the fact that Kobe will make top 5 in any basketball-related list, but here we are. Despite all the numbers he put up, the 5 championships, the 81-point game, the 60-point finale, the league MVP in 2008, the 8-time All-Star, and 9 all-defensive first-team selections, Bryant's lasting legacy will be his mental edge and an overwhelming desire to master the game. A lot of players talk about having Mamba mentality these days, but none of them will ever be able to recreate the sort of intensity Kobe brought to the court. And honestly, that isn't even a jab at these players. We don't think anyone can. And that's truly what makes Kobe Bryant one of a kind. Moving on to number 8, Tim Duncan. If you know the big fundamentals past, you know that the idea of him being one of basketball's greatest power forwards is ludicrous. Duncan grew up in the Virgin Islands. He was a swimmer who did not even touch a basketball until he was a teenager. After 4 years at Wake Forest, he developed into a generational talent that every terrible team aspired to land during the 1996-97 season, so he could single-handedly turn their fortunes around. In the end, it was the Spurs who struck gold and drafted Timmy and went on to become a quasi-dynasty. Duncan spent his entire 19-year career playing for the San Antonio Spurs and regularly put up insane numbers. Sure, Duncan was playing alongside legends such as David Robinson and future Hall of Famers Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Paul Gasol, and Kawhi Leonard. But aside from Leonard, Duncan will shine brighter than any of the other great players who have ever played for the Spurs, and just about every other power forward in the league's history, if you ask us. And that's because of how rock-steady solid he was. He ranks in the top 10 in rebounds, blocks, win shares, and defensive win shares. The NBA might never see another player that does it quite like him. Next up at number 7, Larry Bird. Boston has had more than its fair share of Hall of Famers pass through its doors, but no one was as lethal of a scorer or as clutch at the end of games as Larry Bird. A 3-time champion, Bird enjoyed ripping out the hearts of his opponents while delivering some of the most underrated trash talk. Bird and Magic Johnson brought new life to the NBA, as well as the Celtics-Lakers rivalry during their time in the league. Bird led Boston to 5 NBA Finals and 3 victories with a deadly combination of shot-making, passing, and tactical awareness. It's mind-boggling to consider what else Bird could have done if he hadn't injured his back in 1985, given that he was never quite the same after that and was badly handicapped in his final few years in the league. Despite that, Bird still managed to post an average of 24.3 PPG and 10 RPG over 13 seasons. How many people can do that with a banged-up back? We'll tell you, 0. Now at number 6, Wilt Chamberlain. Some of us would gladly die on the Wilt Chamberlain belongs on the NBA's Mount Rushmore hill because no one changed the game like Wilt the Stilt, literally and figuratively. Like, Jordan may be the greatest of all time, but he never forced the league to change the rulebook the way Chamberlain did. Because of Chamberlain's dominance, the NBA had to widen the lane, prohibit players from rebounding missed free throws before the ball struck the rim, redefine offensive goaltending, and ban inbounds passes over the hoop because it was an automatic alley-oop to Wilt. Tell us that isn't insane. But aside from this, Wilt also put up some incredible numbers during his time in the NBA that no one might ever be able to reach. Who can put up 100 points in a single game? Who's going to average more than 45.8 minutes per game? Will anyone ever even get near his 23,924 career rebounds? Sure, Wilt might have been a product of his time, but you can only dominate the competition that's in front of you, and the Big Dipper did just that. Coming up at number 5, Magic Johnson. When we talk about the top point guards in NBA history, it's impossible to forget Magic Johnson. When Magic Johnson arrived in the NBA from Michigan State in 1979, he literally changed the game. Think how unbelievable it is that in his rookie season, Magic started started Game 6 of the NBA Finals at the center and scored 42 points. He played all 5 positions and led the Lakers to their first championship in a decade. And this was just the beginning for Magic, who, despite his small stature, radically changed the way the basketball world saw guards. Today, his numbers and awards appear unbelievable. With 5 championships, 3 MVPs, 9 All-NBA first-team honors, and more, Magic had one of the best careers in league history. Sure, the numbers are great, but what really set Magic apart was his ability to make the game fun. He and Larry Bird practically saved the NBA from dying in the 1980s, and while their styles couldn't have been more different, there's no arguing who had a greater impact on the game of basketball. But if you need someone to set the record straight, it's Magic, today and forever. Next up at number 4, Bill Russell. Russell is probably the greatest winner in basketball history. Why do we say that? Well, consider this. He won 11 titles in 13 years and completely transformed the Celtics into a defensive powerhouse all on his own. Russell's defensive prowess and tenacity made him the ideal player to stand up against Wilt Chamberlain, as well as one of the few players from this period who would have fit in well in today's NBA. Taking the 3rd spot, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It's unusual to earn NBA Final MVP titles 14 years apart, but Abdul-Jabbar did it. He received nearly every individual honor a great in the NBA can receive, including 6 MVPs and 6 NBA championships. We'll spare you from listing all of Kareem's accomplishments, since you'd be watching this video for hours. All you really need to know is that he's the greatest center of all time, and there's no debate about it. Sure, Abdul-Jabbar wasn't as physically impressive as Wilt or Shaq, but his mobility and agility were unusual for someone his size. This is why we think all other big men of the NBA bow down to the captain. Coming in second, LeBron James. James's game is built on power. He stands 6'9" and weighs over 250 pounds with a 40-inch vertical. However, it's his passing skills that may be his finest skill. Whenever you think of greatness, LeBron James comes to mind. From the first dribble till today, he's done nothing but live up to the hype that was placed on his shoulders when he was first drafted. In fact, if you as us, LeBron has not only lived up to the hype, but exceeded it. And the best part is he's still playing, so there's still room for him to get better, if that's even possible. Finally, coming in first on the list, Michael Jordan. Do you really need an explanation why MJ is number 1? This man won 3 championships in a row, left to play baseball, returned to win 3 championships in a row again, and then came back one more time to become one of the oldest players to average 20 points per game and score 40 points or more in a game. He excelled on both sides of the floor and knew precisely what he needed to do to help his team win every time. He is, without a doubt, the GOAT of the NBA. Alright, who's the best NBA player in your books? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this, and we will see you in the next one.